All right. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Comics Della Morte, episode 81, Avalon with Brandon Starocci. Thank you, sir, for coming on, and thank you for reaching out to us. It's great that we've been doing this for 2 years, and now people are reaching out to us instead of us finding them.
Right.
So,
No, thank you for having me. I appreciate. I love being on these shows, and especially the horror ones as well. So
oh
this is
yeah,
going to be exciting for me.
as one person said that's been on the show before, pretty much a lot of the other ones you just talk about your comic and the
Right.
process of doing it, but this is you get to talk about horror because
Yeah.
why would make a horror comic unless you love the horror genre?
Right. Exactly.
So so tell us a little bit about you growing up as a kid and what made you fall in love with monsters and comics in the beginning.
So just when I was growing up and all that stuff, my dad was a big movie guy, so I kind of always grew up watching every kind of movie you can think of, and
Yeah.
I've always enjoyed those as well. Still to this day, I enjoy movies. And to kind of relate it into like the horror genre, I remember one of my first horror movies was the original Halloween, and I remember
Nice.
that movie scared the shit out of me. I think I was about 4 or 5 when I watched that movie.
Mhm.
So for years, I remember this. I had the same dream for years. I would have this dream that Michael Myers would chase me around my grandma's house, and I cannot escape it. And he would
Oh,
constantly chase me
That's
around for
awesome.
years until recently I stopped having that dream because I think I got older and whatever. But yeah,
Mhm.
so that was one of my
that's
favorite
pretty
movies I
intense.
could say.
Right.
It was in the dream as well. But so that was the one of the first horror movies I liked, watched and was scared of and all that stuff. But yeah, it kind of pushed me into this direction to kind of later in my high school years wanting to be a director. So I ended up wanting to go. I went to visit the New York Film Academy, and
Okay.
obviously going there, I figured out it was way too expensive, so it was not happening. So
Yeah.
I came back home to get a job and all that stuff. So and then I met Alan a couple years later after that, and then we kind of collaborated and kind of came up with the idea of Avalon, and then that to kind of answer your comic question, I was never really a big comic guy. I liked your traditional comics. I was a big Walking Dead comic guy. I like your Batmans. I like your Deadpools and all that stuff. So, but after doing the comic book and getting to know the community a lot more is when I really started to invest in the comic world and all that stuff. And I go almost every week to the comic store to say hi to the community and all that stuff and buy my
Yeah.
own comics. But
That's
yeah,
awesome.
that's basically my little backstory for about me.
Well, what's so great about like what you're doing, what me and Jason is doing, is that besides taking our work to a Comic Con, I don't know about where you're located, but down here in Florida, you have Spooky Empire. Everything, it's basically a horror con where you have like horror actors and all that stuff happening. So it's awesome that we could work in a genre that we could go to different places and make and reach to people that if they're not a comic book fan, they're a horror fan and they'll still buy work
Right.
because of that.
Right, and we do actually, because I'm in Erie, Pennsylvania, and we actually have an Erie Horror Fest that's coming up this October that we're actually going to be a vendor at as well,
Awesome.
which is pretty exciting for us that we kind of nailed that as well. And we also got Comic Cons here in Erie as well that we're going to. But yeah,
Sweet.
Not in a creepy way, but I could get in my car right now and drive to Stephen King's house, and that means a lot to me. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
one day, like I'm a mailbox away from like Stephen King throwing like my horror comic in the trash. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
I'm there. Like he knows I'm on the radar now. So once I embraced horror, it was like there's so much horror and there's so many different ways that it's well done. And that's all I want too. I just want to do a well done horror story. And I want my stamp on it. And so I was saying to you earlier, like you complete the zombie renaissance, like these new style zombie stories, like this triad of awesome creators we had Laurie Calcaterra on. What's up, Gary? How you doing, man?
What's up, Gary?
We just had Sam on Friday, Sam Willis, who's doing oh my gosh, why is the name of that
Raise.
Yeah, like that book
Raz. Yeah.
Yeah. I just got my I just finished doing. I saw that it hit on Kickstarter, so I can't wait to get caught up on everything.
Yeah.
Like, it's such an awesome story. And so tell us about Avalon. Like, give us a glimpse into your world, man.
So Avalon, you're going to get a bunch of different things. Obviously the horror aspect of Avalon is going to be in Avalon. And Alan said it a while back ago, and he kind of said it in one of the early interviews we had. And Avalon has a little bit of something for everybody. Horror aspects of it, has thriller aspects of it. It has like that suspenseful aspect, and noir kind of feels to it as well.
Awesome.
A lot of Avalon has because I watched obviously a lot of post-apocalyptic stuff, zombies, vampire, all that kind of stuff, like those apocalyptic kind of feels. Every time I would watch those, I feel like there's something small missing in each one of those. All of them, there's a lot of them that were good as well, but I would take those little things and I'm like, okay, I kind of piled them all together into Avalon, and then so a lot of those things that I believe that were missing over the years of those kind of stories are invested into our story with Avalon. You're getting a lot of stuff with family problems, like pre-family issues, and you're going to get hit with mental health, like anxieties and all that stuff, pre-existing injuries and relationships that were destroyed before even the apocalypse happened. And with this apocalypse, it's forcing all this to kind of be taken care of up front. You can't postpone this, and all that stuff going forward.
Yeah.
And it's kind of this, a lot of Avalon focuses on the fractured bond between the three brothers that kind of go forward and all that stuff. And they have to kind of push that to the side, but also take care of it at the same time, where with this apocalypse that's, right there in front of their face, they have to kind of survive, put their problems to the side, but also deal with their problems at the same time. So there's a bunch of the little things in Avalon that I believe people are going to enjoy, especially if you're a horror fan, especially if you're a zombie person as well. There's a lot of little things that will be explained over the course of time that are actually hard to even explain, because like our infection and all that, our zombies, those get explained over time. There's a lot of traditional things we hold in the zombie genre, but there's a lot of new things that we added to these kind of zombies as well in our story.
Awesome.
So it's an exciting story we got, I believe.
That's awesome, man. I can't wait to read it.
The artwork alone just really, especially that cover art, I was like, okay, I gotta have that as a thumbnail.
Yeah. He does an amazing job. Demetrius Naslos does an amazing job. I couldn't be more excited about this project because of him alone. He does an awesome job. I'm so glad that we found him.
Yeah.
Keith Harper, good. What's up? Yeah. Right.
I gotta say, like, listening to you talk about your story, I have a story that I did. It was like a 3-month story called Gilead City, where I kind of gave it's post-apocalyptic, but it's also super like futuristic. Right. And the premise of the story is built around like this world where, and it's not zombies, it's really not, but it's a world where you stop dying, and it's everlasting life. It's like one person has, or like one group has the keys to like turn your life off. It's very culty, because that's kind of a lot of my background, but the story doesn't really exist in that one thing. And it's kind of like you were saying, how there's all these real life issues that continue to happen in your world, because if the main bad thing was the only bad thing, like, we'd be able to handle it. But it's hard to handle things because, like the really bad things are really bad because there's still all these little fractured fights that we all have to do.
Yeah.
On a day-to-day basis.
If you're in an apocalypse with zombies, what if you're a person that needs medication, who needs have like diabetes injections and all that stuff? Like, how would you get that stuff?
Right, exactly, and that's something that we want to focus on heavily. I know there are some series that do focus on it a little bit, and then they kind of steer away from it, and then you got that they're missing other things as well. And I think Avalon kind of puts all those things together, and we really focus on a lot of those things moving forward. Though it's not going to be something that a certain character is like a part of a storyline. For example, like how you're saying, like diabetes. This isn't something in the book, but like they'll go through this arc with this character that needs diabetes, and then that's it. And then
Right.
Okay, so you know what I mean.
That's
and then
exactly what I was gonna say. Yeah, it's one storyline.
But it's going to be happening throughout the story in
It's
itself,
a
because
constant struggle.
there are people who take medication for their anxiety. There are people
Yep.
who take medication for health problems and all that stuff. But that's something we're really going to keep in our story going forward and all that stuff. But and you find that out early on with issue 1, like that one of the characters is dealing with a lot of anxiety, and it's you could tell that he takes it even says that he takes that he's a therapist and all that stuff. So you can assume that he's is on medication and all that stuff. But you see going forward in the next couple issues that it's pretty serious.
Yep. I remember my experience with Walking Dead has nothing to do with the comic book, to be honest. Like, I only watched the television show. Mm-hmm. And I remember the one story arc they had where everybody got this really bad cold. And it was really scary. And then it finally took them like figuring out how to make themselves feel better with elderberries, that they were able to conquer that. Because if one person gets sick and dies of this really bad cold, like, there's a zombie in your only stronghold. But that wouldn't just happen once. That would happen constantly.
I feel it's one of those things that they almost missed on later on in the show. It just they could have used it. Absolutely. And I agree with what you're saying though too. All that was just an arc. That was just this story arc, and they kind of just roll with it. It was good, and they just okay, we did it. Let's move on. You know what I mean? So I don't like things like that. I mean, I like the show. Obviously, I love the show, but things like that need to be stretched out. That's the world you're building. So I don't know.
Yeah. So no, I'm excited because it sounds like you guys pay attention to the real life of a hopefully continue to be unreal scenario, but you never know. Since 2020 started,
This is one of those things. It's like, okay, this person isn't infected. This person isn't going to turn into a zombie. But then you're like, okay, this person is a friend or family, but their health is literally holding the team behind. And what's going to happen if you can't find medicine for this person who has like a high health issue? Are you just going to say, okay, we got to move on without you? That's like a real serious thing you have to think about with a comic like this.
And what makes it all that better though is the time period that we are living in, because going through COVID and dealing with those those bad years and all that stuff, there was a lot of things almost similar that we had to deal with, as a bunch of people. So people could now see those. Some of these can be real. It's not over the top now that we have a certain character doing certain things, because now people have done it. If you watch the news, obviously when this stuff was, like all over the place, it was people were doing weird stuff. People were doing bad things, and then people were doing scary things. The scary things like medications they needed and they couldn't get. And all that stuff.
I actually had a coworker. She's still alive and she's doing better now, but she had got cancer during COVID and she couldn't get treatments because she had COVID. So it's like, you can't go to the facility to get like chemo or anything because you have COVID. So she was out literally for 3 months with it. So, that's a real scary thing. And that's something that, people could understand with your book.
Right. And that's just that I believe that made it a lot easier to even kind of write a story, in the apocalypse, because of going through COVID and seeing how people could be and how people could really act and all that stuff. It allowed us to be like, okay, this is possible. People do act like this and all that stuff.
Yeah,
and then you're also throwing an escalated kind of outbreak too, because obviously people are infected and they're attacking people, zombie-like and all that stuff. So it's even crazier, So yeah, I think it's all possible.
And Ronnie's in Florida, so you never know what he's going to see.
I know, right? I know. That's true that. So with you and your co-writer, like when you guys got together, how long did it really take you guys to write the first issue? Like from like, okay, this is what we like, we're going to go with this.
Oh, it took a while. We went through 3 drafts total. It took us probably about 2-3 years, honestly. A lot of that was world building, though. It wasn't really working on issue 1 itself. It was world building. But 3 full years, I would say, it took us to get to a happy script for issue 1. So we were going to release the first draft. I remember doing it, and good thing we didn't, because wow, it was bad. We had it out. We got an artist and all before Demetrius. We had an artist and all that stuff, but then we ended up, stopping production for that because the script was so horrible, so bad. I mean, so then we ended up looking through it. We got our second draft. And like, okay, we could do better with it, and we kind of fleshed it even further. And obviously, you got the third draft was the one that's on paper now with the art. So it was a long process figuring all these little details out, but it was all worth it because now we understand the world more and more. And it obviously helps more and more as you write each issue and understand the characters and the world that they're living in as well.
That's awesome.
I dig it.
So so right now, anybody who's watching besides Keith and Gary, in the description, we have the link to the Kickstarter. How many days you got left?
We have until tomorrow and 12:41 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
You hear it, people who's ever watching live or in the aftermath, just go support it.
Yeah. And if you're too far in the aftermath, build a time machine. All right.
Yeah.
Just go back in time and help us out.
Exactly.
Right.
There's no excuses. There's no more excuses.
With a time machine, there shouldn't be one excuse.
Right. So this is your second issue. Do you know exactly how many issues you want to tell to end the story with, or you haven't fought that far yet and you're just taking it one issue at a time?
So yeah, I have a very generic ending in mind. I have something where I know I have a good understanding of how I want to end it. Now, I don't know how many issues it's going to take to get there. I have a bunch of arcs in my head and I have the first 3 arcs. I finished the first arc, first season. I'm working. I finished the second arc. I'm just working on the detailed issues for the second season. So the third arc, I know what I want to do, and I know what I want to do with the fourth arc. But I would say that there would be a couple more arcs after that to get to the end. So it's going to be ongoing until I basically run out of ideas. So I don't even know. It'll be a lot of issues until then.
You're not building to the crescendo at any particular point that you see it. That's awesome. I could tell, like just in talking to you, like your story it's built. There's a world. Like worlds don't end. Stories of a world don't end. So
yeah, exactly. Like you could not even with the main story, you could go off and do a whole nother story of a person that's not there anymore because it's such a big open world.
Yep. Right. No, and that's just the thing. And one thing we do want to avoid, because Lori and I were actually talking about why she couldn't stand The Walking Dead anymore, is because they put so many spin-off series, and I just believe The Walking Dead was like, forcing it down people's throats to kind of just, buy into the product. And people weren't getting invested in the characters dying and all that stuff. And that's one thing that we want to focus on constantly with all of our characters. And obviously there's going to be, you got your random characters that just kind of do their things. But for the most part, when you get those A and B characters, you're going to love those characters no matter what. Those characters are going to be real. They're going to talk real. They're going to have real experiences with each other. So, and I've heard a lot of good things that people said about Andy, which is the oldest brother, and his partner Miller. Obviously, if you can see us on social media, you can see all this stuff. So they have a really good bond with each other, and it shows with writing and how they kind of communicate with each other. It's a cool bond that they have with each other.
Awesome. You got anything more to ask, Jason, before we get into like the questions of horror in general?
Man, my brain. I might ask something later. Like you know how my brain does. I'm good to go though. Like I'm good to jump to wherever you are next. Gotcha.
So, with the questions now, like, what would be your favorite horror movie of all time?
Man, if off the top of my head, like you're talking specific movie, just one movie.
Yeah.
Man, that's scary.
I know it. It's hard. It's hard.
Oh man, if you were putting a gun in my head right now, it would have to be the original Halloween, just for the sake of what I was even saying earlier, where it holds that kind of thing, where has that special place that it scared the shit out of me for years. It took over my life and my dreams for years. Right. I would have to say the original Halloween because it just like has such a classic kind of look, and it had some like the little stupid things with like how he's driving around and all that stuff. But it was a classic. It was a classic.
And it's funny how he
said
said Halloween because at Tampa Bay Comic-Con we just had William Shatner here over the weekend. So really? Anybody knows that's the Michael's original mask was based off of.
Yeah. Yep. That's awesome. Yeah. No, I would say if I had to choose right now and you had a gun to my head, I'd say Halloween, the original one.
That's awesome.
And obviously, I love the new the trilogy that they're doing now too. Halloween 2018 was really good. I know you're probably going to hit me upside the head if you could. Just watch Halloween Kills about a month ago. I was supposed to watch it. I was supposed to watch it when it first came out. I can't remember what happened. Something happened. I got backed up, and all this comic stuff started happening. So I just never had time for it until this last week and a half ago. So I like that one too.
Oh, well, it's tough because when the Halloween Kills came out, they had brought in so many things. It's like, oh, you have Halloween Kills, then you have the Chucky TV show. You got all that stuff going on at once.
I didn't watch the Chucky TV show.
It was good.
There was two Chucky movies that I liked. I don't care too much about Chucky.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a big Chucky person, but there's two of them that I like. I can't remember which one is what because I haven't watched them in forever. The one where he's running towards the blonde chick, I cannot remember her name.
That's the second one.
Where he's like, "What's wrong? Gun jammed," and then she ends up hitting him or something like that. That's the one I like, but I haven't watched a lot of those lately.
It's either that or the one with his wife. But yeah, the TV show, it's really good. It's the original writer and director.
Okay.
And pretty much you have like Chucky's backstory. So this is like getting away from like the later movies where it was like more comedy and more like actual like the beginning ones where you had a lot of kills and stuff like that, but with a little bit of humor still there.
So it's the original voice though too, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's what I thought. I thought I remember seeing him doing it.
And the actor who played Andy is not like a big part of the series, but he's in there too. So they're pulling all the guns, brought a lot of people back.
Okay.
Chucky was like the dad joke pioneer. Like he told dad jokes before there were dad jokes.
But what they did was Chucky was so great because I'm old enough to remember that before Chucky came out, my oldest sister, well, my second oldest, she got a My Buddy doll. And My Buddy doll looked exactly like a POW guy. Yeah. So literally, she would play with that toy nonstop. And then Chucky came out, she was afraid of it. So then I was like, oh, I got to do something funny. As a little kid, I took a butter knife, taped it to his hand, and then had it at the edge of her bed. But it was great. It was great. No, so Halloween is your favorite movie.
Actually, speaking of it too, this is going down a completely different kind of. It's not slasher related, but it was the first Insidious. First Insidious was very scary.
Oh yeah,
and I remember watching that for the first time, and that was some scary shit.
I gotta check that one out too. I've heard that a lot. I haven't watched it though.
You haven't watched First Insidious? Yeah, the First Insidious. No. It would have been way better if you saw it in the theater too. With the loud, I don't know how your theater setup is at home, but the loudness of it and the way they manipulated the sounds and all that stuff was very, very good, and that was a scary movie.
That's awesome. So with Halloween being your favorite horror movie, who is your favorite 80s horror slasher? Would it be Michael or would it be someone else? I know Michael scared you as a kid, but sometimes people prefer like a different slasher, especially as they get older.
I would feel like it would still have to be Michael. The 80 because I feel like it would still have to be Michael. Gotcha. The only one I would consider close to it after that, it's not even the 80s. It's like it's the 90s would be Scream. So
because it could be more surreal.
Yeah. So it right, obviously not the 80s, but like Scream would be the only one close to Halloween for me.
Mm-hmm.
I like the way they did the original and all that. I mean, like I feel like every one was good in their own way, but they had some stupid ones. But the first one was good, and then that same. I just like the Scream series too. Those were good to me.
Yeah, I'm I'm 42, and when Scream came out, it was really cool. Like, it was scary, but it was a really cool horror movie because it captured like the peak stars when we were kids, and they did a movie, and it was, I don't know, I've always enjoyed that movie.
They did it in such a good way. They took all those 80s movies, and actually even before the 70s as well. Like, they took all those and kind of just did a good job in kind of making, not fun of it, but like the cliches, you know.
The I'll be back,
It was totally,
and then the person never comes back.
They did a phenomenal job with that, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Even the phone calls will be kind of corny, but it played really well. Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
And I don't know if you consider this horror either, but the Evil Dead, I'm a huge Evil Dead guy. I don't even know if you consider that horror. The original one, I've talked to people because I didn't watch Evil Dead when it first came out. When it came out, 78 or something like that? Or wait,
yeah. Well, it's like, it's one of those things that, you know, you could have something that's horror, but it's a plain right comedy. Mm-hmm. Because me and my brother, as a kid, we used to watch this movie on VHS and used to rewind it, watch it again, and that was Killer Clowns from Outer Space. You know, classic. I'm such a big fan. I have a T-shirt, and down Killer here in Florida, the original creators had a haunted house with all the props and the costumes at Universal Studios. And it's one of those things that there's a lot of horror movies out there that have a lot of comedy, but they're not really horror, but they're horror-esque. Like not the second one, but the first Gremlins movie, like Jason says, it's a horror movie that they literally kill people in that movie.
Ronnie, you're not going to talk over me and not let me say that the Evil Dead is not that. Gary knows. I don't get Evil Dead. I don't get anything that people like about it. I love every other Sam Raimi movie. I love Sam Raimi's stuff. But
I see the Gary post right here too.
Yeah, exactly.
I was waiting for it. As soon as I saw that, I was waiting for him to stop talking, and then you were going to start coming. No, I enjoy it. I really enjoy the Evil Dead thing. So maybe you'll hate me after this, but I literally
we're good.
I mean, Evil Dead's so popular they came out with the video game just recently.
A couple of them. There was a couple of them. I played the ones way in the early 2000s. I don't know. I think they came out in the late 80s or 90s. I mean, but I played them when I was younger and all that stuff. I think there's like 2 or 3 of them on the Xbox or something like that.
This one. The new one you could play as like the heroes, or you could play as the
villain
creatures.
Yeah. I wish I got the game, but I didn't get it. So I'm just screwed.
There's also a really good game based on the Burger King.
Yeah. And the Friday the 13th video game is great. The new one where you get to play as Jason. But no, there is a Burger King video game out there.
I love Sneak King. I thought it was a blast.
But
it was like Metal Gear Solid.
Right. But Jason, you asked a good question last time. So we're going to have this as pretty much a question on the show now. If you were a gamer, what was the one video game that scared you as a kid?
Oh shit, that's a hard one. I don't know. Honestly, as a kid, are you talking about a kid or just in general? Something that's
you could say in general.
I'm gonna have to do general because I don't know if I played any scary games as a kid. I think I don't know if I'm getting it right. Outlast what is that game called?
Outlast, yes. Outlast is amazing.
I talked about that game last week. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's the one. Yeah, where I was like, holy shit, I couldn't even play it. I didn't even want to watch my cousin play it.
Yeah, because you're going through this insane asylum, and literally these different people are like, you get injured, and you literally have to try to repair yourself. And then I don't know if it was the first one or the second one where this guy dressed up like a groom, and he was trying to find his perfect bride. So he would literally,
fuck that.
He would literally
it even sounds scary.
No, basically he would literally kidnap other inmates and basically turn them into a female by getting rid of their male parts. So you're in first person. So you're in first person view. you're like first person
You
view.
can be in first person view. I'm not playing this video game. So you
but
talk me out of it.
But it has supernatural elements too. Like there's this spirit that's trying to like attack you during the whole game too. But great game. They actually came out with 2 of them.
Is this the one where you hide in like lockers and shit like that?
Yeah, you could do that.
Okay, okay. So this is the one for sure then. Oh wait, this is the one with the doctor. Wait, what's the one with the doctor that's trying to find you and like fuck you up?
I don't know if that's 1 or 2, but they do have a doctor that do that. I think that's the first one.
Yeah, that would be the one. I never played it, but I watched somebody play it. I won't play that game. We had the lights off and everything. I'm like, no, dude, we're done.
Yeah,
I ain't doing that, dude.
That's awesome. So, with horror and everything, is there you're writing horror, you're creating horror, and this is a question we get a lot. Like, do you ever feel that there's a place that you won't go with, like with your writing? It's like, okay, that's too graphic, because I love horror. Jason loves horror, but we're not a fan of like the torture porn stuff.
Okay, that I believe is a whole new that's
like I always say it. I always say it because I always say the human centipede. I'll never watch all 3 movies.
What's funny though is I finally watched some of the human centipede like not too long ago, like a year or 2 ago. Not only was it like dumb or gross, it was stupid. It was like,
it was more gross than it was horror wise.
It wasn't even like not like fun. There's nothing. It was so stupid, and even the characters in the thing were so stupid. The way they could have gotten out of that like 3 to 5 different times to not get their fucking mouth sewed to somebody's asshole. You were just so stupid that you wanted that to happen. That's your fault. You know what I mean? That was a dumb movie. It was gross. It was dumb. It was a dumb the way they did it. I hated that movie.
Yeah,
I'm here for it. I love it.
But no, I don't think there is. I don't care about the torture. I don't like get off on like the torture. What you call it, the torture porn or whatever.
Yeah, pretty much.
I don't care too much about it. I'm not like going out of my way to watch those things. I don't think there's a limit as long as it fits in the story, or if I have a character or a villain in my story that's going to be graphic, there's going to be a villain that's going to be graphic. I'm not going to hold anything back.
But it's there for the story. It's not there just because you want to.
I'm not there to be like, oh, I love.
You're not creating shock, right?
Yeah. If there's something that I believe this character has to go through and all that stuff, and he, all that stuff, but it'll be there. I'm not going to hold anything back in that category. If like, there's I wouldn't hold back. Is where I'll leave that answer at.
Gotcha. Awesome. And so with that, we're going to kind of go back to some old school stuff, like growing up watching horror and all that stuff. What would your favorite Universal monster would be and why?
Universal monster.
Yeah.
Not Universal Soldier.
Yeah. No. Fuck, I don't know.
We all know who the greatest Universal Soldier was.
Yeah.
Let me defer that off to you guys first. What do you guys think?
Oh, mine's would definitely be Frankenstein. I love it because it's one of those things. It's not just a horror story, but it's a story of tragic, and you have this creature, this monster, who's made up of different body parts. And I can't remember which Frankenstein movie it was, but I know we did a review on Frankenstein, Alive, with Bernie Wrightson as the artist. And he was basically talking about, it's like, if I'm playing a piano, is that me or is it somebody else that knows how to play the piano? Because that's what the person is. They're made up of different body parts.
Right.
So,
right.
You don't know who you really are inside. So it's more of a tragedy. And I always think it's great. Just like with Candyman. Candyman was scary, and you would do the whole mirror as a kid, Candyman 3 times. But when you really think about it, in the beginning, that man wasn't a psychopath like Freddy Krueger. This man was a man who loved this woman, and they treated him wrong just because of the color of his skin. So when they could take the killer or the monster and have you relate to them in some type of way and feel sorry for them, that's what I like.
I like that aspect of it too. I mean, obviously that won't be my answer with the monster thing, but like I like those aspects as well. I like doing a couple different things. That's one of my things where it's like the villain, obviously making them a impact, like holy shit, this dude's like, whatever, and then almost like you write it in a way where it's like you feel bad for him, almost like, oh, now I see where it's coming from, now I understand it. And I also like making the heroes get beaten down to a pulp, like literally nothing's going right, so that like someone's foot's on his neck constantly, he can't
basically
breathe,
it's one of those things where like you watch horror movies, especially during the 80s, and you're rooting for this person who's an asshole to the rest of the group to get killed.
yeah, right, that's what I'm saying. So it's just like I like those elements in a story where you're constantly you're going back and forth on those things. And I guess for the monster thing, I would have to say just the typical zombie, right? I feel like that would have to be it for me. Overall, I can't think of anything else that would really take the torch with that one. Yeah. I just think it's just the element. I mean, all of it. When you're talking about the original zombie itself, and like in Night of the Living Dead or the original Dawn of the Dead, or the new zombies, or the different variations of it. I just think. I think overall, I like the apocalypse kind of feel to it all, but just the zombies, you could do so much with different zombie kind of things. Like now, zombie is such a general term, it could fluctuate from 0 to 10, you can do anything now, so I think with that alone, you can make it almost like The Last of Us, obviously they're not called zombies in there, but, I would consider it still zombie genre where you don't know if these are still people inside these things or dead people just walking. As simple as dead people walking. There's no feeling. There's nothing. They're done. It's a corpse walking around.
Right.
You could do plenty of different things with it. And I think that's what intrigues me the most about the zombie genre. And I think that's what kind of pushed me even to doing this, is just loving the apocalypse setting and loving the flexibility of what you can do with zombies.
Nice.
I dig it. Zombies are like now the most relatable monster of all, because for the same reasons you just said. Like, there are zombies who walk the earth now. Like, they may not be undead, but there's so many like legit cult of personalities that people just absorb. Like, I grew up with Jehovah's Witness. Like, that's a whole it's a whole different type of zombie that is striving for everlasting life on earth.
Yeah,
like that's a one uniform thought, and people who never die, those are zombies. But it's not, So it's the most relatable thing. It really, really is. All these years later, like, it wasn't Mad Max; it was The Walking Dead.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, although Mad Max was good, I hope you don't like. You don't like. Yeah, okay, I thought it was like an Evil Dead thing where you hate Mad Max.
I was gonna say, let me just separate, put you guys in a cage. One man enter, two men enter, one man leaves.
No, I like Mad Max still.
Yeah, and gas is expensive, so we might get a combo flat here soon.
Awesome. So with you guys doing your comic now, like, how long did it take you to find the artists that you have now? Like, did you guys reach out to someone, or was it like, where did you find them? Because for a lot of creators out there, sometimes the people that we've had on the show is like, oh, I knew this guy who was a great artist for a long time, or I had to find this person through like, indie or stuff like that.
Oh, it took a long time. We went through. Demetrius is our third artist. I found this person. The first artist I kind of found just from people I knew back home, and it was this girl that lives in the same city and all that stuff. But we ended up not using her because that was the time when we had the first draft, and we weren't happy with the draft, and it kept just not going the way we wanted it to. So that kind of stepped aside, and then the way I was looking for an artist after that was I would go on a hashtag that was comic book artist, I believe was the hashtag on Instagram. And
Mhm.
every single day for months, I would scroll, look for art that I liked. I'd click the page, I click the post, look on the page. I would message them. I do that to a bunch of different people. A lot of them just ignored me. A lot of them were way too expensive. I found
Yeah.
somebody. The second person I found, we were working. We just were not seeing eye to eye. So he kind of backed out of the project. I continued
Yep.
on. I found Demetrius Nastos. And right out of the gate, I knew he was going to be the guy. I knew he was going to be the artist for Avalon. Right away, I knew he was a go-getter. Loved art. He had a fire lit underneath him. He loved the whole idea of everything. I asked him for some concept page. I loved the concept page, and everything just fell naturally when I found Demetrius, and I couldn't be more happy having the artist I have now, because the relationship that we've kind of grown over time, and you can kind of see it actually even in the work. Issue 1's art style is different than issue 2's. Same
Mhm.
artist, different art style, but you can just tell. And issue 2 is going to be the art style from now on. It's not going to change every issue.
Right.
Gotcha.
From issue 2 on is going to be the same art style, because he got better over time himself, and you could just tell our
You
relationship.
let it find what it was supposed to be.
Mhm.
Right, and that's literally what it
Because you
did.
both know each other's strengths and what you guys
Exactly.
want from each other. Yeah.
Exactly, and you said it best there too. Is you could just tell how our relationship has grown over the time period of just even if you're just reading it and knowing when these comics were coming out.
Well, yeah, that
And
because now with you guys writing issue 2 and got that done, you
yeah,
know what your artist shows like, oh, I could write this scene that might seem complicated, but I know he'll get it done with
right,
no
and and
problem.
and honestly, there's a lot of things in issue 2, and he's currently working on issue 3 right now as well. That
Oh
he comes
wow.
up with a lot of ideas. I give him the script. I write pages 1 through 24. I give him the whole kind of page layouts, and then the whole going forward. He looks at it, reads it as a fan first. This is kind of what I told him in the beginning: was read it as a fan first, read it as an artist, and then read it again. So 3 times he's reading it to see what he's doing, and I think that is what kind of how he does it best is he sees it first as as the script, reading as a fan, he kind of gets that inner feeling. Then you read it as the job, and then and then the third time you're reading it, you're seeing how you want to do everything, and he does a phenomenal job. And every time we kind of come together page to page, he's like, I thought of this idea. What do you think about it? All that stuff, and then he'll send me the pencils, and I
Mhm.
like it. There's a lot of things that I've grown to trust him with that he just does a phenomenal job on, and he kind of just takes it away
And that's
by
what it's about.
yeah,
Yeah.
blows me out of the water with the stuff that he's been doing, especially actually with issue 3 too. He's been a lot of good stuff with issue 3 coming out as well. Issue 2 is also phenomenal. He does a phenomenal job with all of it.
Yeah. Now, I know we talked about it a little bit before we went live, but for like a lot of people out there that are joining the community, I know you said that with this story, you weren't planning to have it be a comic book at first, right?
No,
Yeah.
obviously when I had this idea back in high school before I even met Alan, it was intended to be a movie. I had no
Yeah.
clue what the hell I was doing, so it was just kind of like just writing random things down. I'm like, oh, this sounds cool. I want to do this, but then I never did anything with it. And then years down the line, I found the old notes, and then that's around the same time I met Alan and all that stuff. And then we kind of collaborated, and it was supposed to be a novel. And then I'm not a person that likes to read a lot of words on page. I like visual. I like seeing things. So then with the Walking Dead comic that was actually on my desk, I went to Alan. I was like, we should just make this a comic book.
Yeah,
Obviously it's
because
going to add
horror,
another person. Yeah.
yeah, because with horror, you really don't need a lot of words unless it's outside of like the scary part. But like most horror comics should like be a lot of action and less dialogue, unless they're trying to like tell a prologue of like a certain event.
Right, exactly, and that's just it. And I think seeing all that, and honestly, because I've read the Walking Dead comics,
Mhm.
not to the finish, but I read a lot of it, and a lot of inspiration of Robert Kirkman. And you can't love this genre and not love Robert Kirkman. I've always
Mhm.
said that. But like a lot of what he did in the comics, and seeing other comics as well. But a lot of his is like, okay, yeah, I could do this. having Alan alongside with me, and then finding an artist and all that stuff, this can be possible. And obviously it's working. It's doing it, and it's doing it at a great rate, and we're happy with all with the product that we have right now. And then issue 2, we're excited for issue 2 and all that stuff. I'm glad we picked the comic book. Is kind of what I'm saying.
And for anybody out there who
got an unlimited
wants
special effects budget.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And anybody out there who wants to join it, like you were talking about too, how the comic community was very open and accepting.
Yes, I which is awesome for me, because I was on an interview back here at home. I did a podcast here at home, and I told people though too. It like how you said, it's very accepting to kind of accept us into this community, because there's a lot of people that I look at it like, I wish the comic industry was like not the cool thing to do anymore. To be a comic lover, and I wish I was part of the comic community before it was cool. I hate that it's like
most of the comic book community now, it's just superheroes, but now we're seeing more horror comics. But I always say it, like the whole reason why we had the comics code in the beginning was because of horror comics and all the violence they had into it. And before we even got a chance to see like superhero movies, we had like things like Tales from the Crypt that you would watch on HBO, and that's from a comic book series. So, horror was doing it. And even also, like the very first movie that started the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe was Blade. That came out way before even Spider-Man Sam Raimi did.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And I see those posts all the time. Like, this is like the original of the comic, world and all that stuff. But yeah, I just think it's like, and the way we were talking about it on the show was just like, it's just like you're this team that won the Super Bowl, and then you have a bunch of bandwagon people jumping on it. Yeah, I would hate to be a part of the comic community before it was cool, and then have a bunch of these people jump on the wagon as well. But I'm glad that the comic community welcomed us in with open arms and all that stuff. It's a very awesome group. It's an awesome community, and I really wish I was a part of it a lot longer. And through my childhood, really, I wish I was part of it through my childhood. But it was more or less the last few years of my life when I was in the comic community, more since I did the book, the Avalon. But yeah.
Well, it's definitely better with Avalon. So
thank you.
I appreciate it. Like I love hearing other storytellers, and I also love hearing from people who do heavy scripts, because it's a task. Like, it really, really is. Because you gotta lean into so much. You gotta lean into things that you wouldn't necessarily want to spend time writing. Like, there's setup involved, and it's a lot. So it's always good to hear from other people who do it.
Of course.
That's cool. So with the what type of extra bonuses are you trying to do with the Kickstarter for anyone that's trying to go out there? Like, you have like t-shirts, keychains for anything. So this Kickstarter, I know Lori did a custom pop figure. That was awesome.
Yeah, which was awesome. If you saw on her page, it turned out very well. And she's actually got. We talked about it in the last Zombies Live video, where she's going to be doing it in the next Kickstarter as well. I think she's going to be doing it. I don't know if she said the bear.
I'll be right back, yo.
The bear, that would be awesome.
She said something about don't quote me on that, but she's definitely doing another pot where you can donate to get it. So I thought that turned out very, very well.
That's cool.
But with ours, the only thing that's very, very exclusive to what we got with the Kickstarter is going to be the cover B. You could see what the cover B is in our updates. We have it listed on there. So with the cover B of issue 2, you're only going to be able to buy it online with the Kickstarter, which obviously ends tomorrow. Thank you, Gary. I appreciate it. I see it's there.
Yep.
So you'll be able to. The only time you're going to be able to buy a cover B online is the Kickstarter. We're going to also be selling cover B, but only at live events. So if you don't live next to Pennsylvania, I recommend you get cover B on Kickstarter, because like I said, the only time you're ever going to really be able to get it after that is just whatever event we're at is where we're going to be selling it.
Gotcha.
So It's a really cool cover. It has like a nice rip, at Andy's eye and all that stuff. So
Yeah. Oh yeah. Double click twice. But yeah, that's
well,
awesome.
thanks again, Gary.
Yeah. So with the after you did issue 1, how much longer did it actually take you to get the second one down? It probably got you probably get it done a lot faster, especially if
Yeah,
your artist is working on the third one now.
yeah, he's about halfway through the third one now. So it's the writing process. Like I said, I got 6 issues done, written.
Yeah.
They're all written completely, ready to get ready for the artwork. It didn't take long. It was kind of weird. I haven't really jumped on the second arc too much because of this campaign. But before this campaign kind of started, I was banging the issues out left and right. It was a lot easier than issue 1 because issue 1 it was a mixture of
You already laid
writing
down
issue
the
1.
foundation.
Yeah, we really had to lay down the foundation and also lay down, really understand this world that we're creating as well. So now that we understand this world, it was a lot easier to kind of go from 1 to 6. It was a lot faster, and 1 to 6 is very good. We're very excited about this first kind of season that we got for Avalon, and season I call them season, I guess, volumes. The volume 2 is going to be exciting as well. It's going to be a lot of. I'm not even going to say it. You got to wait.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome.
I don't want to get too much into.
I can't wait to get caught up with it and read it.
Yeah, it's exciting. This first season is definitely exciting. I'm as a fan of this genre, and I was saying this on another show not too long ago. I'm not trying to sound like I'm patting myself on the back because it wasn't just me. I have a team around me, so I'm very excited for what everybody's going to see with this first season. A lot, the team around me helped out with this awesome story that we have laid out. These first 6 issues are very, very good. And I'm not saying this just because I
love to hear it.
Right and all that stuff.
I love to hear it.
As a writer, you should be confident.
Yeah.
The more
it's just
confident
very,
you are,
very good.
Yeah, because the more confident you are, it's going to show in your work.
Yeah. I don't want to sound like cocky, and it's not like a cocky thing. It's because I don't want to take the credit though, because a lot of this with this team that I have around me does a phenomenal job. They keep everything on the tracks. Because everybody can have great ideas. Everybody can have these fucking wild ideas, but it's about putting them where they need to be put before releasing them. And that's the most important part. You can't just have these ideas and throw them all on paper. They have to be done right. It's schemed out right.
Having a lot of people be able to give 100% towards one thing can only make it better. Like everybody gets to concentrate on doing 100% of something.
Right.
It can't help but to be better.
And it's very helpful now because before social media and before all this networking, as an artist, you had to learn how to do the business side and the art side by yourself. But now more and more there are people out there to make it easier where you as an artist, you learn the business side, but now you could actually have someone who's not a great artist or doesn't do artwork at all, but they love your project and they're there for you to be with shipping and all that stuff.
So anything, anything helps, to have a team around you and take a lot of weight off your shoulders, it definitely helps in every way possible. And that was
because we had a person on the show named Gio. His horror comics, he was saying how he actually had cosplayers that loved his work so much they were dressing up as his characters, so he would bring them to events and everything to promote it. So anything helps.
Oh yeah, it brings eyes to your stuff as well, and that's exciting. The cosplayer thing would be a cool thing, and that would just be like a nice thing to another level to okay, this is more awesome. I mean, I fall in love with this more and more as you get this stuff out to more and more people. I can't wait for that stuff. My favorite thing so far is to go and meet the community. When I do the events, I go to the local comic stores or the comic stores. I've been to a couple different comic stores, but meeting the surrounding communities as well. That's always fun, talking to them and kind of doing this, but in person. It's always an enjoyable thing for me.
Yeah, that's awesome. I unexpectedly Nothing's wrong, really. But I got to jump off here, guys. I'm really sorry.
Oh,
But
it's all right. We're at the 55 mark, so
yeah,
it's pretty much
I
gonna
got to
close
head
it out.
out. But man, thank you so much for coming on, Brandon. Like, this was a good
No, thank you
conversation.
for having me.
I can't wait to. I'm one of those guys that might pop up in your in your private messages somewhere with something random, because I know, like, it's nice to hear how other writers think. But
Yeah,
yeah.
of
So don't be
course.
surprised if I do, and if you don't message me right back, it's no big deal. Sometimes I miss social media for a few
Mhm.
days.
No,
So
no worries. No worries. I
all right,
appreciate it. I appreciate you letting me on the show and all that stuff. I look forward to talking to you again.
sounds good.
Yeah,
It's a good time.
I
Hey,
know.
thanks
I know.
again,
We gotta.
Ronnie. Take care,
Not
man.
a problem, buddy. I'll talk to you later. But yeah. But before we close up, I'll definitely say it like I've told the others. We haven't really had an episode dedicated to everything zombies, because we've had episodes dedicated to like creating a jump scare in horror. Just one episode dedicated to talking about nothing but different types of vampire movies, werewolf movies. But it'd be great if we could get you on, you know, Lori and a bunch of other people, just talking about
Yeah,
like the
anytime.
original OG Night of the Living
Yeah.
Dead.
Oh,
Like,
I fucking love that movie.
yes,
I
just the
love
black
that
and
movie.
white one, and just
Yeah,
talk about it,
I love that movie.
tear that movie apart. Because what's also great is that it's one of the original movies. Well, actually, it is the first movie
Yeah, it
where
is. Yeah,
like you, not just as the zombie movie, but it was one of the first movies where the hero, the male hero of the movie, was a black man, and it was famous
yeah,
because of that.
yeah.
So
What was that? What was that made? It might sound stupid when I say this. Was it 68?
I think so. Yeah,
Hang on. I
it would
don't want
have
to
to
sound
be.
like a jackass. I can look it up.
And then when they did the remake for the '90s, the guy who played Candyman became Candyman. He did the role for the '90s. So yeah, it's just
Yeah, yeah.
that
No,
movie did a lot of things that
Night
was
of the Living Dead was awesome. Yeah,
yeah.
I love that movie. And if you want to do that, let me know so I can rewatch it because I haven't seen it in a while. I actually want to rewatch it again, but I'm gonna watch it again before if we end up doing a show or something like that.
Yeah.
So
And
definitely let me
then
know. That would be cool.
and
Because
then
I'm in a group with Lori and stuff, and
yeah.
I can tell them that you'd be
Mhm.
interested in doing something like that.
Yeah.
So kind of keep it all in mind.
And then when you come up with your third issue, I don't know when you want to start, when you're going to do that Kickstarter, probably maybe next year. But if you want to bring your co-writer on the show, do it.
Oh, of course, yeah. No,
Yeah.
he's been busy with his own because 1282 Productions. If you know, show you right there.
Yeah.
So
Right
we have
there.
1282 Productions. So what 1282 Productions right now is Alan and I's kind of brand. It's kind of our
Mhm.
production label that we're going to be pushing forward. The reason he hasn't been around lately is because he's working on his own half of the business as well. So
Gotcha.
that's not public yet, and we're hoping that it's public. Towards the end of September, Octoberish. So he hasn't been around lately, but he is going to be around later on. So hopefully, by the time we have issue 3, kind of promoting issue 3 and all that stuff, so
Mhm.
we can jump on the show and maybe he can jump on as well and all that stuff. So
Awesome.
the only reason he hasn't been on is because, like I said, he's been dedicating all of his time to that other half of the project or other half of the business. So that's the reason why he's not here today.
Okay, awesome. Well, again, thanks for reaching out to me. It's always, like I said, it's always great that people are finding out about us more and more.
Oh,
Because I would,
yeah, no,
because we're just like Jason. I mean, we're both comic book makers. We love the, making comics. We love that form of media where you can mix like artwork and storytelling in one,
right.
and just talking about horror within that is just a great topic to talk about.
Yeah, of course. And this allows me to kind of this. Not that I didn't like have like a thing of falling out with horror, but like it wants me to makes me want to watch more and more horror too. And get
That's awesome.
more into this stuff too. This is
Yeah.
exciting.
All right. Well, you have a good night, and yeah, definitely reach out to you in the future about coming on again.
Of course, thank you. I'd appreciate that a lot.
All right. Well, Gary, Keith, thank you for being in the chats, and thank you everybody watching on the afterplay. And go support Avalon. Buy the comics, show some love. Even if you can't buy the physical copy, you could at least buy the digital if you
Yep,
can,
of
if you
course.
could afford that.
And
So
yeah, exactly. Thanks, Gary, for donating. Anybody else is watching, yeah, anything helps. You got till noon tomorrow, a little after
all right,
noon.
all right.
Thank you again.
Yep. Y'all have a good weekend. Bye.